Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1988 Japanese war movie drama animated film Grave of the Fireflies.
また
Hey, well, yes, lucky you. We're reviewing another movie tonight. I'm reviewing every movie that has 100% fresh rating Rotten Tomatoes. I am giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the 1920 silent movie era, and I'm working chronologically through this list. I'm now at 1988 with Grave of the Fireflies, and this is the final movie from the 1980s. So we will wrap up the decade with this movie, and what a movie to wrap it up on! Just a fantastic one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. So, like I said, this movie has 100% fresh rating from the critics and a 95% fresh rating from the audience, and is also included on the 1001 movies you should see before you die. This is the second time I've seen Grave of the Fireflies. The first time was probably about 20 years ago. It was a different time in my life. My mom was still alive. She passed away suddenly in 2019. And I was not a father back then. I have now a 7 month old daughter. And so when I first saw this movie, I was looking for just the most depressing movie that I could ever watch. I Yahooed back then, which was before Google, most depressing movies ever, and this came up on pretty much every list. And it was incredibly depressing the first time I saw it. But now that my mom is no longer alive and I have a daughter, this movie is just heart wrenchingly painful and very sad, very emotional, and it gives you so many feelings that it's such an amazing movie in that way. I usually gravitate towards these type of movies, the movies that I that stir up some emotions, and this just does it. So, this movie essentially is about a brother and sister. The brother is Sieta, and the sister is Setsuko. They are in Japan, and it's World War II, and their town, their city that they live in, is just constantly being bombed by the Allies. The Allies are just destroying all these all these cities that, from what I can tell, at least what we see, have no military purpose. They're just towns and cities where people live, which is um, during the course of these bombings, their mother is unfortunately struck, and she eventually does pass away. Now, Sita knows this. He goes and sees her as she's dying. But Setsuko does not know this early on, so he tries to kind of shield her from the atrocities that are going on. He tries to play with her. He tries to keep her mind off of things, and he tries to make the world seem like not a as bad as it is. Sort of like what Roberto Benigni did in Life is Beautiful. The only difference is that this movie is actually good. So, um, as he's shielding his sister from these atrocities, he has a problem where he needs to find a place to live. He's now kind of the man of the house. He's the only person that she has. And he goes to live with some family. Now, the family at first doesn't know that their mother has been killed. Sita tells them this a little bit later on. And upon hearing this, the family member decides that she's going to sell the mother's items so that they can get food, and the necessities to live on. Now, because it's during wartime and a lot of the places that produce food, they're just getting bombed and shelled and destroyed. There's a food shortage. Food has been rationed, but I guess for the high enough price, anyone can if you have enough money, you can get what you need. So when she offers to sell the mother's things, Setsuko is very saddened by this and very upset by this because at this point she doesn't know that her mom is dead. She just thinks that her mom is in a hospital and she's going to get better.
ほな、ちょっと行ってくるさかい。なんやせっちゃん、起きてたんかいな。
お母ちゃんのおべべあかん。お母ちゃんのおべべあかん。あかんあかん。お母ちゃんのや。お母ちゃんのおべべあかん。
話や。
あかん。
And she doesn't understand why her mother's clothes are being sold. After this event happens, and Setsuko and Sieta get a bunch of rice and a bunch of food, the family members' demeanor, especially the woman who is watching after them, changes dramatically, in that she no longer wants them around. She is constantly getting upset at Sieta for not being part of the war effort, for not fighting. She claims that he's old enough and he should be out there with everyone else in the trenches. And if he's not going to work and if he's not going to fight, then he doesn't deserve the food that he bought with his mom's belongings.
よしなさい。この戦時中に何ですか？怒られんのはおばさんですよ。非常識な。ほんまに偉い疫病神が舞い込んできたもんや。空襲言うたって何の役にも立たんし。そんな命惜しいねやったら横穴に住んどったらええのに。
So he eventually decides that he's no longer in an environment that he wants to be in. So he and Setsuko set up a shelter for each other and go off on their own. On their own, they don't have the safety net of the family. They don't have the same means to get food. They don't have it's a much more comfortable position when you're in a house and you have people who can cook for you and help provide for you. But on your own, life's a little bit harder and it's a little bit different. Now, I'm not going to give away the ending for this movie because I feel like this is a movie that is still pretty popular today, maybe because of how heart-wrenching and how sad and how just utterly devastating it is. People want to flock to it and watch it like I did. So my assumption is that of all the movies that I've done so far, maybe Terminator can be in this list as well. This is probably the one that people are most likely to pick up and watch. So I don't want to ruin what happens. Just to say that it's not happy what happens, and it is very depressing and very hard to witness the events of the last part of the movie unfolding. Like I said, especially since I'm in a different position in my life where I am the father of a 7-month-old child who is a girl, and she is also definitely a mama's girl. She just lights up whenever she sees my wife. It's a painful movie, and that's just how it is. And I mean, I think it really paints a picture of how war can be. And even though you're technically not supposed to bomb buildings and bomb places that are not military, that don't provide some sort of military presence or don't help their army militarily, you're not supposed to just bomb cities. You're not supposed to just bomb places where people live. But I mean, we're seeing that now with Russia and Ukraine, and with the war, the Gaza war that's going on. That it happens. It shouldn't happen, but it does. And I think this is one of the first movies that I saw that really shows that part of the war, that really shows how it affects the regular people, that it affects not only, I mean, it affects the children, it affects the mothers and fathers, families are ripped apart, homes are destroyed, lives are destroyed. I mean, you can see it on the news, but I mean, on the news you see it the next day, it's like it didn't happen, you forget about it. But with a movie like this, it really sticks in your brain, and it lasts with you. This is a very powerful movie. This is a movie that will stir up some emotions in you when you watch it. I'm not ashamed to say when I get emotional during a movie, and this is definitely one that stirs up emotions and that is hard to watch. But I think that just shows how great it is, how perfect it is that it can stir up emotions in you like this. Especially in an animated movie, there's not a lot of, I mean, besides like the beginning to every Pixar movie where one of the parents dies, there's not a whole lot of animated movies where I could say affected me emotionally to where I was like this does. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful movie, heart wrenching, like I said. Um, but I think it's a movie everyone should see. I think it's a movie everyone should watch. I think it's an important movie, and this is a very easy, a very obvious 10 out of 10 for me. It's gonna be up there in, if not the top five, the top 10 once I get this list out and rank all the movies. It's just that good, and I probably, unless I watch it with someone else now that I've reviewed it, I might not watch it again, just because I don't want to go through that emotional roller coaster that this movie puts me through, that emotional washing machine that just tumbles and tumbles my heart around. Um, but I am glad that I've seen it. I'm glad that I watched it, and yeah, I give it a 10 out of 10. That wraps up the 1980s. Next, I'm gonna do a little something different before I get to the 1990s. There's three movies that popped up on the list from earlier decades. So what happens is that this list, it's just on Wikipedia of all the 100% fresh movies. Um, it counts movies that have 20 or more critic reviews, and once an older movie that is 100% reaches that number, it'll show up on the list. So there's a movie called State Fair, uh, Captain Horatio Hornblower, and Sancho the Bailiff are the next three that I'm going to do, and then we'll get on to the 90s. So thank you. I hope you join me for my next review, which will be 1933's State Fair. Thank you. Have a great day.